Good evening and welcome to the Gold Ghosts and Guns Hour here on YouTube and Periscope. My name's Tom Luongo. Got a lot to talk about tonight. Today I want to talk about what I did all afternoon. Well, at least most of the end of the morning and into the afternoon. Before I then sat down for 2 hours and wrote a response to a Hungarian journalist for an interview request. But what I spent 2 hours doing this afternoon, which I swore I never thought I'd ever do in my entire life, it was watch British Parliament. So Theresa May gave her statement this morning about her potential plan B, which I missed, actually. I caught all the just reaction shots. I actually tuned in right as Jeremy Corbyn was making a fool of himself. And I am going to say that Corbyn made a fool of himself because it's obvious that he doesn't believe in taking a no-deal Brexit off the table, but he's having to do so because that's what the majority of his Labour MPs want him to do. He's having to argue for a position that he doesn't believe in. And it became very clear throughout the rest of the parliamentary session that during discussion that Theresa May had not only shut off all avenues of debate, but she shut off all avenues of, I wouldn't say debate, but opposition. Because they kept asking her to, like, well, why don't we do this? And she's like, we're doing that. Well, why don't we do this? And we're doing that. And well, what about this? And we're already doing that. I've told you. And you had to listen to her today. I was actually really, for the first time in 2.5 years, I was impressed with Theresa May. And the reason I was impressed with Theresa May today was because she gave them no opportunity. She gave them no avenue to attack her on. All they could do was attack her on situations and points that she already addressed, except to say, look, we're not going to betray the people and extend Article 50 because you people don't want to get it done. We're not going to call for people's vote or a second referendum like Tony Blair wants and the rest of the European Union wants because it would be a betrayal of the 2016 vote. And she made reference to it quite emphatically. She said, I've seen this before. The people in Europe vote the way the European Union doesn't want them to vote, and they make them do it again until they get the vote right. And she spoke straight out to that. She said that explicitly a couple of times, actually. I think my read on May is the right one, which was she didn't want to leave the European Union. She negotiated a deal that would be acceptable. That was the kind of the least contentious during the process of negotiation. She let the EU set all the terms and then tried to see if Parliament would go along with it. Parliament didn't go along with it. And now they're stuck. And it's too late for the pebbles to vote, as it were. The avalanche has started towards a no-deal Brexit, and it's too late for the pebbles to vote, to invoke Ambassador Kosh from Babylon 5. Because she sat there and she said, look, I gave you a deal. You entrusted the government to give you a deal. So we gave you a government. The government gave you a deal. You don't like that deal, but you have not come back with anything at all that tells me what I can go back to the EU with to negotiate with for a different deal. So she effectively called all of their bluff. She called all of their bluffs. Scotland, Wales, Labour, the Tory Remainers, all of them, every one of them were bluffing as to what they were going to do if she didn't cave to what they wanted him to do. Take a no deal off the table. No, not going to do that. Can't do that. Legally, we can't do that unless we revoke Article 50. This is exactly what we've been saying. I've been saying, Mercouris has been saying, everyone, Jacob Moncrief has been saying for weeks. You cannot just wish Article 50 away. It was an act of Parliament. And that act of Parliament stands until otherwise revoked. So you want to revoke Article 50? Go ahead. You don't have time to revoke Article 50. They know they don't have time to revoke Article 50, which is why they're trying all this other stuff. This is for the first time I saw actual abject panic on the part of these people, because they realize at this point that they do not have a position. And May just sat there eating it up. I told you, I'm open to suggestions. Tell me, you as a group, as a body, as a parliament, this house, tell me what you want me to go back to Europe with. And they couldn't give her an answer. All they could do was grandstand. We need a people's vote. We need this. We need to do this. We don't have time to do this. We can't do that. You had 2.5 fucking years to get your shit in order. You had 2.5 years knowing full well that fallout, WTO, no deal, Brexit was the default position the day you voted for Article 50, including 4 out of the 5 people in this very room. I loved it. I was sitting there laughing my ass off going, this is great. This is fantastic. Throw it right back in your face. The deal was crap, Scott Colvin. You're absolutely right. I honestly thought that was May's job, was to negotiate a crappy deal and then have them eventually settle for this crappy deal. I don't even think she's going to do that, because she can't bring that one back to the table. I don't think she's going to either. She was accused of this. She's like, look, I'm not going to bring my old deal back up. You guys voted it down. Now what do you want to do? Well, we don't want a no deal Brexit. Tough shit. That's what's on the table. Let's extend it to July. No, we're not going to do that. We can't do that. The law says March 29th, we're done. You don't have any options. You can wish this away all you want. It's like listening to people wishing away the fact that Donald Trump is president. They just don't want to admit that he's president. They don't want to admit that Brexit happened. They don't want to admit that the people don't want them to do what they're doing. That they're embarrassed that Parliament won't listen to the people. There were Labour MPs standing up saying, I sit down with my constituents. I just brought them to Westminster yesterday. I took a vote with them, 50 of them, right then and there. None of them had changed their mind about how they would vote in a referendum, and every one of them wanted us to get on with the business and to respect the vote. The people who are most upset about this are the ones who have invested billions and billions of dollars in the UK staying in Brexit and staying in the EU. They have invested so much of their life, their time and their treasure and everything else. So many very powerful people are standing behind all of these PMs, all these MPs. It's so very obvious who they're speaking for. These MPs are speaking, but George Soros has his thumb right up their ass. Like a fucking puppet master. So fucking obvious. Tony Blair, the rest of them, all of them. Desperate to try and hold this thing together because they know what comes next. What comes next is that they start to lose. Because when the sovereign debt crisis really begins to engulf Europe, do you think the people of Europe who don't have much left in the fucking first place are going to lose? The people who are arguing most strenuously for Brexit not to happen are the ones who stand to lose the most. It's everybody always talking their book. Always. there's a solution for the Northern Ireland border. Rocket Man, you ask me questions like that all the time. How long can May remain in power? I don't fucking know. You always ask me questions like that. I'm not a mind reader. I don't know. And I know that for some reason you think that that's far more important than just watching the traffic splash by, just watching events unfold. May is irrelevant after March 29th. She's irrelevant. She doesn't matter. She doesn't. She might leave. She might be thrown out of office the very next day. But every time she survives another no confidence vote, she gets stronger. Why? Because it keeps proving that the Remainers are not unified. They're all unified on wanting to remain in the European Union, but only in different ways. And so they can't come to any fucking consensus. The Brexiteers are all like, yeah, let's do it. We're gone. Out. It's easy. They may only be 300 of them out of 630, but that's enough because the other 330 can't figure out how to cross party lines and get shit done. No, I know he does. Don't get me wrong. It's frustrating because it's an answer I can't give you. And at this point, you should know that by now. This is the only issue. I can't answer questions like that. Right. I don't see the big deal with Northern Ireland. It's the EU's problem. Let them deal with it. I've been saying that from the beginning. The Irish border is the EU's problem. It really is. It's the EU's problem. It's Ireland's problem. Let them figure it out. What do they want? The EU can make concessions to themselves. And if they can't, then what kind of union is it where it's got to be, my way or the highway all the time? That they can't make concessions. They got 27 freaking countries, for Christ's sake. Let them figure it out. It just continues to highlight just how screwed up the concept of the European Union is in the first place. There aren't many pro-Brexiteers within Labour. That's the issue. Not many. A few. A few that are willing to go along with it. That they are Remain at heart, but most of them are Remain at heart. The MPs are. But I think it's at least 50 or 60 Labour districts voted to leave. At least. I think it was even more. It might even be more than that. I don't have the numbers off the top of my head. And anybody who does have the numbers, please throw them out at me and I'll relay them to the rest of the world, or at least to the 500 people who will watch this. God forbid Ireland should be united and free. Well, of course not. The Scots are like, the Scottish National Party it's funny. I watched no less than 4 of them all stand up and virtue signaled their little kilts off about how they're going to take Scotland out of the UK if they do this. And Theresa May just kind of laughed at them. He's like, we already had a referendum in 2014. I mean, I'm all for Scottish independence. I'm all for Irish independence. I'm all for Northern Ireland independence. I'm all for Wales saying the hell with the UK. I'm all for it. I'm all for more countries every day. I always want more countries. More countries is better. Smaller the political units, the less tyranny. It's a very simple calculus, right? More countries, more competition. That's why I hate the EU. So. Yeah, why do we allow the elites to fill everybody's head with these ridiculous arguments? The UK can't survive without the EU. It's absurd. Of course it's absurd. If you say something stupid long enough and often enough, people eventually believe it. Well, that's the point about the SNP, Scott Colvin, is that the Scottish National Party wants to be in the EU. Scotland does not necessarily want to be in the EU. A lot of pro leave Scots. But the Scottish National Party position is that. I mean, I know that Scotland is mostly Remain. They would rather stay in the EU. But guess what? Do they really want to stay in the EU? They really want the EU more than they want their independence. The minute they vote for independence, they think that the EU is just going to accept them tomorrow. And in the 5 to 7 years that it'll take to get through the process of petitioning to the EU, and after we go through a sovereign debt crisis and everybody on the continent wants to be eating each other, do you really think the Scots are still going to want to be in the EU 5 years from now? And honestly, this is the part where I honestly think Theresa May just kind of looked at them and like, you do realize what you're talking about here, right? With respect to the right honorable gentleman, I think that you don't quite understand what's, it's like listening to them talk is really funny. But what's really being said is, fuck you. You don't have a leg to stand on. The Scots are never going to go along with it, and the EU is doomed. And yes, of course, then there's a lot of English that want Scotland to leave. So it's really funny. So Carlos asks, how will the financialized UK economy going to do fine with the upcoming downturn? Their whole economy lays in a shaky foundation. Everybody's economy lays in a shaky foundation. The bigger issue is that they need to get themselves divorced from the European Union so that the value of the pound is not tied so closely to the euro. That's really important. Two, that when the EU starts to implode, they're not on the hook they're not on the hook to share the wealth, effectively to share the shit, which is really what the EU is worried about. They know that the German banks are in serious freaking trouble. They know the Italian banks are in serious trouble, and they want the Brits to share the suck. Nicola Sturgeon is an idiot. I've watched the woman talk. She's just not smart. She makes AOC look like a frickin' brain surgeon. The only reason she sounds smart is because she's got a Scottish accent. Honestly, I put the 4 Scottish MPs that talk, you put them together, you couldn't make one good brain. It was actually really terrible. I love Scotland. I love all things Scots. I love the history. I think those people are cool. I'm like, you stood up and you did this to the friggin' English for how many friggin' years? Thank God. And this is what you've come to? You're a bunch of fucking welfare queens begging the EU for fucking scraps off the table? I've said for years that what 300 years of slavery couldn't do, 40 years worth of welfare did in the United States, to destroy the black family. Well, the same thing happened in Scotland. What 1,000 years of fighting the English couldn't conquer, 40 years worth of the dole certainly fucking did. Jesus. It's sad. And the Swiss are going down the same route. A lot of historically Labour strongholds in England, this is right, Rocket Man, voted Brexit like many devastated working class regions and states historically Democrat leading switched heavily for Trump. It's the same story in France with the Yellow Vests. It's the same story everywhere. And it's a story that keeps playing itself out over and over and over again. And they don't have an answer to this. Someone asked me, I got asked today by the Hungarian journalist in the prepared series of questions he sent me, which were, by the way, insane. Took me all afternoon to write them up. I got done writing and I'm like, I don't have any words left in me. Holy shit, what am I supposed to do now? But but he asked me, what do you think that they're going to talk about at Davos this week? I'm like, how they're going to stay in power. Because they're in serious trouble. Because they don't have an answer to this. So, I didn't like Train Spotting, actually. Couldn't watch it. Oh, it was good. I just I certainly couldn't watch it twice. There's certain movies that you watch once, and then you're done. And Trainspotting was one of them. No Country for Old Men was another. There's a few others in that vein where, wow, great movie. Yeah, I'm not watching that again. Now the Scots need they need a kick in the ass. They would be better off outside the UK. The UK would be better off without Scotland. In the end. Not in the short term. Same thing with the European Union. There's a lot of ties and a lot of things that would have to be worked out, and a lot of things have to be, a lot of relationships would have to be remade and restretched and reborn and all that stuff. Fine, whatever, deal with it. But in the end, the Scots would be better off standing on their own. Same way the Irish are better off standing on their own. Same way that ultimately everybody's better off standing on their own. Yeah, that's why I couldn't watch it a second time. User 13. It was too nihilistic for my taste. So, dude, I want Florida to secede, for fuck's sake. I mean, let's not mince words here. Okay, I think we would be better off without Washington. So, Rob Roy was all right. A little overdone. Tim Roth is great in that movie. And anybody who thought that Jessica Lange could do a Scottish accent, well. Nihilism on heroin, actually. Oh, yeah, you're right. Hadrian's Wall can be reconstructed. I listen to all these Americans like waiting to redo Scottish history. It's like, oh, racist. That's racist. I'm just waiting for it. So, seriously. Watching British Parliament today was so obvious that Theresa May was just sitting back and calling all their bluffs. Come on, give me an offer. Give me something I can take to the EU. The clock is ticking. They kept saying, the clock is ticking. We have to do something. Yeah, well, obviously, do something. And all you can do is sit there and complain. Not part of the solution. You're part of the problem. Your solution is delay, people's vote, this, that, all these things that are code for cancel Brexit. The Scots get more welfare on average than the UK as a whole. They need a free market. Absolutely. It's so obvious that all they're doing is trying to play all they're doing is playing the PR campaign to try and cancel Brexit. That's all they've got left. And with May holding her gun, sticking to her guns today, and calling the bluff of the supposed parliamentary coup that was going to happen over the weekend, and I'm sure you guys all read this on Zero Hedge and other places, that there were there was some secret document being leaked by everybody. Thank you, Joanne, for the numbers. 270 areas voted to leave, 129 voted to remain. It was plus 5 votes, and as Theresa May brought up today, and how many people came out to vote in that referendum who hadn't voted in their entire lives. Turnout was historic. It was a real vote, and we have to respect it. I'm like, where the hell did this come from? So, when you really do the math, they don't have an answer because they know they don't have an answer. They know they don't have another solution. Their solution is Theresa May's deal or no deal Brexit. And they're really in the better position to go with a no deal Brexit. Because nothing they're going to send to the EU will agree to. Because the EU is not going to come off their hobby horse. They can't. If they come off their hobby horse and they negotiate at all, it sets a dangerous and bad precedent for when they have to go up against Italy. And Italy's the real fight. Brexit's done. It's done. Seriously, it's done. They voted. They've negotiated for 2 years. They don't have anything else. Leave. Brexit for 72%. It was absolutely a win for Leave. It was really interesting today to watch it. because because all of the Remainers did not have an answer. They didn't have anything substantial. All they could do was virtue signal. All they could do was, they had all their little prepared talking points, and all they could do was read them and reiterate them over and over again. Well, that's nice. Saying it again doesn't make it any more fucking true. The Scottish government is ruled by crazy Marxists. Like I said, Nicola Sturgeon's an idiot. The voting will continue until morale improves. Exactly. The beatings will continue. The voting will continue until the numbers improve. The EU wants an empire, and they're not going to give a millimeter without beating it out of. They got to beat out of the no deal Brexit as a club to beat them with. Absolutely. It's like, well, you got to take no deal Brexit off the table. Why? It's our only negotiating point. I mean, Theresa May literally came out and said Jeremy Corbyn waved the white flag in front of the EU with his proposal today. I mean, it was like, holy shit. It was crazy how it was. I mean, after a while, I was just transfixed at how bad these people were. I figured they had something up their sleeve. I wouldn't say it was 2 hours I wish I had gotten back, but, you know, honestly, I really wish it was 2 hours I had gotten back. The Yellow Vest movement. Do I see it as a true grassroots movement that is moving globally? Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. 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 It's crazy how great this is. There's going to come a point in the real near future where Emmanuel Macron is no longer of use to the elites, the Davos crowd and whatnot. And they're going to try and sacrifice him and his government in order to stop the Yellow Vest movement. That's what's coming. Probably after Davos, which is why he was disinvited to Davos. I don't know that that's actually going to work. I'm almost positive it won't work. This is beyond Macron. This is beyond diesel fuel. This is absolutely about them. And like I said, what was really interesting was watching May today for the first time really show her true colors. Really come out and just say, look, I know you don't have an answer. I know you don't have anything that I can take to the EU. I know that you're bluffing when it comes to tearing down Parliament. So what do you got? Because I've got my deals over here, and I want to deliver a deal. I think deal is better than no deal. She kept saying that over and over again. I don't agree with her, but deal is better than no deal. Okay. And until they come up with something, we're going to be where we are. Do you think the Trump administration will get its shit together to get the citizenship question on the census? No, I do not. Yeah, Joanne, you didn't see that? Macron was disinvited to Davos right after Trump revoked Mnuchin and Wilbur Ross's invitations. All right. Trump said he's not going because of the shutdown. And then Macron was disinvited like 3 days later. And that same morning, Trump disinvited Mnuchin and Ross. It was all the same weekend as him going out, canceling Pelosi's flight. So a tech at my machine, for a machine at my job, it was in printing business, Edward Abbey, who was from England, told me he thought Theresa May was a great PM. I thought he was crazy when he said it. It's intriguing, the change in May. Macron, it is interesting how she's handled this now. I don't think this was her plan. I think her plan was to get her deal through and have a Brexit in name only. I still stick by that. I stick by my assessment of her that she's not made of... But see, here's the thing. I've been wrong about one thing. She's not the gypsum lady. She's now actually like calcite or feldspar. She's nowhere near iron. But if she shepherds this thing all the way through to the end and they wind up with a no-deal Brexit, then she could be prime minister for quite a long time. Macron should hope he gets kicked out before he ends up like Ceausescu. News with 13. Always witty with the bon mots. Always. I love it. Most politicians are egotistical, narcissistic, unintelligent douchebags. That's why they go into politics. Yeah, don't forget Power Man. Oh, that's right. That's covered under douchebag. Got it. If they had any sense, they would have canceled Davos. They should lay low at the very least. But no, they can't. Joanne, they think they control everything. They think they have control over the media, their image, parliaments, the votes, everything, the money, everything. Canceling Davos would be an admission of weakness. Do you think Nancy Pelosi would cancel Davos? That woman that woman will never show weakness, which is exactly why Trump will eat her lunch while she's Speaker of the House, because she's so easy to be a foil to. $1,500 private jets, I saw this, predicted to descend on Davos this week. I may go and look for a wife. Nice. All right. Anything else? God, I was beat this afternoon after I got done listening to Englishmen drone on for 2.5 hours. Whew. The virtue signaling just like wiped me out. It was crazy. I was tired. I don't know what was going on. I got a good night's sleep last night. I went to bed early. I don't know. It's just weird. So let's see. What else we got? Oh my God. Excuse me. So, how stable will the markets be after the Brexit vote, another weekend of yellow vests, and the ongoing U.S. government shutdown? Not very. They're going to be very choppy all the way to the European Parliamentary elections. But continue to watch for continued outperformance of the Dow relative to all other equity markets. And note that the Fed will get more dovish because they're going to try and keep things afloat for as long as they can. So there will be more statements by Fed heads and Fed committee, FOMC committee members and whatnot, saying, hey, we're really rethinking this whole rate rise thing. So that's what's coming. It's not ending soon, Classical Muse. I usually go for about an hour. I just may run out of material between now and then and just ramble for 25 minutes. So never know. Kind of have actually run out of material, to be honest with you. They are trying, so Stoyanovich tells me, they are trying to scuttle the Trump-Kim summit the day after it was announced. So I know. Of course they are. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, Trump going into a showdown against Pelosi is easy because Pelosi's committed to not giving him anything and just, kind of, I am the anti-Trump. I am the anti-Trump. I am the anti-Trump. Orange mad bad. I cannot deviate from present course because that means that I could show weakness, and if I show weakness, then we will lose. You're going to lose anyway. You already showed weakness. You put fucking Ocasio-Cortez on the Financial Services Committee, you twat. We already know your game is up. Trump already knows your shit stinks. Oh, by the way. How about the Covington Catholic mainstream media smear drawn on 15-year-old kids? Well, it was disgraceful. And what else is there? Every day that you think that these people can't go lower, they surprise you. It shouldn't surprise you. Kid was just trying to sit there and smile and deal with like a really ugly situation. And he smirked. the native guy. Are you fucking kidding me? I mean, this is what we got? This is what we've been reduced to? This is all they got? This is all they got. I don't really have anything else to say about it. I'm like, I couldn't even bring myself to do 6 or 8 minutes on YouTube about it this afternoon. I'm like, this is just the saddest thing I've ever seen. I mean, what's next? It's sad, is what it is. I mean, the kids didn't do anything. They were there, they were being accosted, and they kept their cool. It just goes to show you that what you see is what they want you to see. How they frame the shot is very important to them. What they can get away with. How they can cut a shot up and how they can cut a video up in order to get the effect that they want. And then freeze it. Oh, look, he's smirking. Have I talked about the Israel attacks on Syria? No, I haven't. Green Penguin, I love to talk about goats. It's enough to convince me that I can't do it myself and need additional help. I can't keep dairy goats by myself. If it wasn't for Camille, they'd have died years ago. No, Gillette does not treat human males like male goats. They don't. Male goats act better than the guys in the Gillette commercial. The best a goat can get. You guys are on fire tonight. Okay, so that's it. The goats have taken over. These people should be sued for libel. The damages, the death threats, there's reports of them trying to get everybody fired and all of this stuff. It's terrible. I mean, this is purely lynch mob mentality here, and it's disgusting, and it has absolutely no business and no place in a free society. It's just insane. At this point, Tom, they're just hating the fact that white people exist. Here, I'm going to put more of my whiteness on screen, okay? Just so we got it right. More whiteness. I'm white. Really, I'm Italian, but fuck you people. And I'm not going to be apologetic about the fact that I'm white, male, and nominally middle class. Sorry. It's just not going to do it. And if that makes me a fascist, oh well, it makes me a fascist. Would you like me to smirk? Fucking retards. All right. Let's see. What else is next? The MAGA hat kids. I've heard a lot of people will be sued for doxing minors. They should be. Yeah. Well, nothing. Like I said, yeah. As user 13 points makes a great point. Keeping your cool drives them nuts. Not responding drives them nuts. Dude, I'm telling you, you guys don't have any idea. Every time I publish something on Gold Goats and Guns, this jackass from New York, and I'm sure he's a paid Soros troll because he would have gone away by now. But every time I publish something, he sends under a different username another message that I immediately junk. It's driving him completely insane. He makes usernames like Tom's a jackass. Luongo is an idiot. It's fantastic. And I just sit there and go, takes him longer to make his account than it takes for me to junk his comment. And he'll never get another one through. He's got to make a new account. It's like, laugh at them. Joke them if they can't take a fuck. I mean, seriously, it's so very important at a certain level. You just ignore these people. Like, whatever. Like, keep going. The minute that the trolls started try to engage you on Twitter, I don't engage them. Once, twice, then I'm done. And I'm like, no, sorry, you're an idiot. You've got 9 followers and I'm blocking you. Done. Oh, he's either a Steyer or a Soros dude. Either way, it doesn't really matter. There, he's from it's a New York IP address. Doesn't bode well. Oh, what we got here? I missed a couple of comments, so I'm going to have to go back. Hey, only real men don't shave their beards. Shaving is way overrated. Let me tell you. Yeah, the senior Democrat congressman from Kentucky said these kids shouldn't be allowed to wear MAGA hats. But yeah, that addresses the problem. The El Vicaro, Tom, that doesn't get into the idea that this is potentially dangerous for leftist hate mobs too. I know that if a hate mob showed up on my doorstep, I'd react very poorly. That was El Vicaro, that was not me. But I can tell you that, yeah, don't show up on my doorstep, folks. It's more than okay to be white. It's okay to be black. It's okay to be brown, all various shades of brown. We're all really not white. We're all various shades of brown. Except for, except for the really pale Scots Irish that, can't go out in the sun. No one likes self-hatred. Leftists will be the first to learn that. Yuri Bezmenov outlined exactly what will happen to these useful idiots. Pretty much, they're all gonna eat each other. Remember, purity tests. Once they start getting into purity litmus tests, it's over. At that point, they eat themselves because no one will ever be pure enough, and it all turns into the Soviet Union and then the Gulag. Just as long as they leave me out of it, I don't give a shit. If they want to eat each other and put each other in freaking camps and gas each other, you go right ahead. Just leave me out of it. Tell your goats that it's okay to be a goat. Well, they already know that. Trust me. And that you said hi. I will. Poor Ray. She won't accept me as her son. One of my new dairy. She won't accept me as her son, even though I milk her, but she doesn't want me to leave either. So I can't pet her, but I can't leave. I just stand like right next to her. She would be happy if I stood right next to her like for 24/7. I'm like, I guess I have to go out there with my laptop, like on a bib thing, and it's like right from there. She'd be okay. My wife is white. I can't stand having him. I can't. The Rocket Man. I can't stand having a beard. Face gets itchy and dirty. You gotta let you gotta get past the first couple of days of that. That 3 to 5 days is really rough. Everything gets the skin stretches and it gets tight, and it itches and all that stuff. I can tell you that when my beard gets a little too long, I wind up sitting there playing with it, and that's why I always keep it short. I can't ever grow like a Ian Anderson style beard. Nah, fuck that shit. I can't do it. Those hipster beards, those guys are crazy. Fish belly white and lobster red. I'm Italian, dude. I just get like darker and darker and darker, and then eventually people are like, "Oh, you fit in the neighborhood." Okay. Can I confirm into the chat that the chicks dig the Bigfoot beard look? This guy? I don't fucking know. I don't know. I've had a beard since 1993. I just don't like shaving. So I got used to it. And seriously, was never. Oh, I overachieved in marriage too. Camille's shy, but I completely overachieved, Mark Bogosian. I'm with you on that. I don't know why she's still with me, honestly. Yeah, I just don't get the long beard thing at all. I don't know. I can't do it. It just, the minute it starts to get long, I start to play with it, and then I start to like pull hair out of my face, and then it hurts all the time, and so I have to shave it. I don't know. I think there's something about like the full beard isn't great, and the completely clean shaven isn't great, but women really like the 3-day stubble thing, like that whole Don Johnson or Paul Joseph Watson has it going on, right? That guy. Yeah. The whole, I don't need to shave. I'll shave once a week. That kind of thing. How many kids do I have? 1. We wanted more. We got 1. She was a miracle. Comb my beard? Those 3 words, I don't think have ever crossed my lips before. Comb my beard? Okay. I guess some people do. The goat who won't let you leave. It's a former girlfriend story comes to mind. I'm curious what I thought about Dr. Steve Turley. I like him. I watch him every once in a while. He's usually got some good ideas. He's usually got some good stuff. I think he's good. A little, presentation's a little over the top for me, but it's fine. It's his gig. It's his show. Does it his way. I'm a little less, I guess, a little less polished. Oh, me, ADHD? I see. I refuse to admit that that's an actual thing. I don't give a shit. To me, it's just like, I just don't buy it. And yeah, you're probably right. Kids, something else we have in common. Oh my God. No, seriously. I mean, I was a perfect parent before I had children. How many of you said this in your life? Okay, I don't do polls all that often, but let's do a poll. How many of you were perfect parents before you had children? And how many of you are now just hanging on for dear life? As a chick, trimmed beards, yes. They're good. Giant hipster hairy face thing, no way. That's what I thought. That whole wanting to go back, but they're just looking for. Those guys are looking for identity. They don't have one. Duck Dynasty beards are so wrong. Yeah, it's that kind of thing. El Vaccaro, that's my problem with ADHD. I believe it exists in some way, manner, shape, or form. I just also believe that it's way overdiagnosed in order to ensure that boys behave. My older sister did goats in high school FFA years ago. They were boars. I would caution you on your choice of words. Just saying. Boar goats they're interesting. I don't know where in the United States you live, but they're really hard to raise well. At least really high quality boars. They are not tuned for North American parasites. They are really, really hard to raise well here. So many people try to raise them optimally for optimal meat production, and it's really hard because they fight worms all the time. They fight all of it all the time. And we're like, dude, cross them with some fainting goats. You'll never have to worm them. So I think the verb you were searching for though was raised. Where can you get one of those hats? $28 on Amazon. No one's asked me that question in quite a long time. But then again, there are no trolls on YouTube. Therefore, I don't have to deal with this question like I do on Periscope. Hey man, nice hat. Yeah, $28 on Amazon, fucko. Okay. Dr. Turley is a big Trump guy. He's also a big anti-Iran guy. I guess he's somewhat neocon. I brush that aside as he does bring awareness to a lot of positive developments. National populism. I agree. I don't watch every one of his videos. God forbid he does 2 a day. He's on. I think that's beyond Styx Hexenhammer level. And I'm like, dude, I have no business. I have no desire to have my face on YouTube that often. I was never really ADHD until the interwebs. Now I listen to stuff at 1.25 or 1.5x speed, and I have a bunch of tabs open. Now I expect life to be that way as well. You sound like Camille. She literally watches everything. She's like, she said to me the other day, she's like, Jordan Peterson's spoiled me. it's like there's so much information coming at you really, really quickly. I want every YouTube to be that way. So she watches most of them at like at 1.5x. Everybody else speaks too slow for her. And she also lives with me, and this is my normal speaking voice. Would goats in areas with winters have less problems with parasites? Parasites, as in Parasites, right? Just want to make sure that we're not talking about something weird. But yeah, sorry, dude, I couldn't help it. That was Green Penguin. Yes and no. They don't really. What they don't like is Florida. Okay, 60 inches of rain a year and a heavy worm load. And every freaking bacterium, Clostridium known to man, yeah, not good for raising goats down here. Okay, it's too wet, it's too much. It's too hot, it's too cold. Right. But yeah, they do fine in winters, in places where there's winter, as long as you can get hay. I mean, they handle the cold weather just fine. I mean, they don't give a shit. They just grow a thicker coat in the wintertime if it's cold. And even my Nubians, for Christ's sake, and they grew a big, thick winter coat. They'll put on a double layer if they need it. They'll put it on. So they do just fine. It's the parasite load thing is really about what they're, where they're from originally is what they're. It's like we're all that way. Our immune systems are tuned for where we've spent the last couple of thousand years or 100,000 years, right? That's where we're tuned for. And you have to, if you go through an aggressive culling program like the feigning goats did here in the United States, then you can get rid of the ones who are not resistant to the parasites that are native to North America, which is a completely different parasite load than you find in Europe and in Africa. And that's the problem. So, no, I mean, that's a term we use. We goat people use heavy worm load. It's tough. The barber pole worm is really, really nasty down here. It lives on the grass, and it is only active when the grass is wet. So that means in the dew in the morning. And then the goats go out in the morning and they eat the tops off the grass and they ingest all the worms. And then the worms get into their stomach and they're like little barber poles and they stick into the stomach lining and cause them to bleed. And they become anemic. Worms are just nasty. And the goats are dealing with these things all the time. Now, the good news is it's really the only worm we have to deal with down here. That's bad, but it's bad enough. And then and so, we just have to dose them regularly. We check their inner eyelids to see if they're going pale. And if they are, then we worm them. And we go on from there. So that's the way it is. What's North Florida like in the winter? Right now, it's going to be 30 tonight. So the stove is stoked with wood and the goats are hunkered down. 30 degrees is, Fahrenheit, obviously. I live in the United States. Not bad. We get that a couple of times a year. We're getting a few more of those every year now, which we kind of expect, right? Because it's getting colder. Any other animals besides goats? I have ducks and I have dogs. We have dogs to protect the goats, and I have ducks to protect, and I have ducks for eggs. Having owned horses in negative 20 Canada, parasites survive in barns and steam manure piles as well. Still have to deworm as required. Yeah, I don't usually have to because we're only dealing with the barber pole worm down here, and it's really not active in the wintertime because they're not out grazing. They're only eating hay, and so when they're on hay, it's not a problem. Have you checked out farmer rancher Gabe Brown and Joe Salatin? Joe Salatin, yeah. Joel Salatin has been, I haven't met him personally, but he's been in the area. One of the farms here in the area, goat farm, and other animals as well. Does a big farm to table thing every year, and they've had him down. I didn't get a chance to go the last couple of times that Emily's done that. It's Emily Eckhart and her I can't remember the name of her ranch. But yeah, we have a really strong community of agriculture. I mean, this is North Florida. It's a very strong agricultural area. I mean, we produce a lot of beef in Alachua and Columbia and Union County, by the way, and Bradford and the surrounding areas. It's negative 20 degrees where you are. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I mean, 30 degrees isn't bad. I mean, I'm from New York, dude. I mean, 30 degrees was like October, right? Yeah, it does, actually, with the wormwood. So Stoyanovich is asking, with the wormwood, does varying the grazing grasses a form of self-medication of deworming health? You're right. You can do pasture rotation with them. Because the barber pole worm's lifespan is about 2 weeks. So about 2 to 3 weeks, about 3 weeks, sorry. About 3 weeks. So if you've got 4 pastures, you can like move them from pasture to pasture, like a month on each pasture, and eventually, and you can rotate them through. So as long as one field lays fallow every month, well, then, the wormload will decrease dramatically and the grass will grow and then they'll come back on it. And yeah, that's the way some people do pasture management with their goats. Absolutely. I don't. I only have 3 goats at this point. It's not that, I only have 3 dairy goats and a buck. I don't have a lot. I'm the 2 little babies. And the one boy will be sold off. We'll keep the little girl. And that'll be that. I'm not doing a big goat operation here or anything. I've got a couple of dairy goats as family milkers to support my family, and that's it. Which, by the way, 4 milk goats is a fucking business, by the way. Just so you know. Have I ever eaten smoked eel at every time I go to get sushi? So, yeah, so that's one of the things you can do to limit it, or you can use chemical wormers, or a mixture of both. The other thing you can do is there's a plant called Lespedeza, which grows down here real well, and it's the only natural wormer for the barber pole worm. And there's a very nascent industry in producing Lespedeza pellets feed for the goats, and we get some of that every once in a while. We also have bushes in the summertime because it'll grow up during the summer and it dies back in the winter. We have it planted all along the fence line in our yard, which borders the pasture. So as it grows up and it grows through the fence, the goats eat it through the fence and they get a little bit of natural wormer that way. It's also really good for when their stomachs are off. When they're not feeling very well, they ate something they shouldn't. I gave them a little too much grain. There was a real bad shifts in weather are what will drive them nuts. Really quickly. It'll upset the pH balance in their gut. And so if it gets hot and then cold, or if it goes from dry to wet, back to dry, and all this kind of stuff, that's really when you have to be really worried during the summer. Violent weather changes in the summertime are really bad. And so when they're off, when they're not feeling very well, and what we do to check to see how bad things are, it's kind of a triage thing. The first thing we do is we check to see what they'll eat out of their grain mix. If they won't eat barley, then we know it's probably a pH thing. So offer them some baking soda to raise the pH. They've got an acid stomach, raise their pH. And their stomach, they'll just take it right out of your hand practically. You just put it in a little bowl and they'll eat it. And then, but they'll still be under the weather. If they'll eat oak leaves or they'll eat Lespedeza. I've not seen one yet that wasn't about to die that wouldn't eat Lespedeza. So the stuff's great just to have around the yard if you've got a sick goat, because you can always get some food into them and help to restore, gut bacteria balance and all that stuff. Okay. Let's see. Rio 6 said, what's your favorite food and what's your favorite Italian food? Steak. Favorite food? All of them? I love food. Favorite Italian food. Most of which I can't eat anymore. I don't get along with tomato sauce anymore. So I don't get along with cooked tomatoes at all. Cooked tomatoes bad. Cooked tomatoes equals ass on fire. Not good. So most Italian food is, pasta. I mean, at this point, I don't really eat pasta anymore, so I don't really eat Italian anymore. So I'd have to say like a good antipasto plate, because all the like the prosciutto and the pepperoni and the salami and the pickled olives and all that stuff. That's what I would wind up eating, and and say pickled fish and stuff like that. That's what I would, if I had my choice. If I had my druthers, I went to an Italian restaurant. That's what I would order at this point. Just, generally speaking, we aspire to eat low to zero carb all the time. We don't always get there, but we do try. So yesterday was 55 plus and today it's 32 was the high. Would that be an issue? No, really wouldn't. That kind of thing. I mean, I have the more violent weather changes in Florida than that. We went from a high of 80 on Sunday to a high of 55 yesterday. What do I like besides my steak? Whiskey? Acid reflux issues only if I eat a lot of wheat. Or a lot of, it's not acid reflux with the it's digestive tract. It's the lower GI tract stuff. I'm trying to be, the colon does not get along with certain things as I've gotten older, and I've never really got along with them. When you're younger, you didn't give a shit. I love Asian cuisine. I like food. And I'm not a huge fan of like Indian food and whatnot because it's mostly, there's not enough meat in it for my taste. Yeah, this is what's interesting. It's the other way around for me, El Vaquero. I can eat raw tomatoes like on my hamburger, no problem. But the minute you cook them, it's just bad. And it's just bad. I don't know what it is. So, no, I don't have acid reflux because I'm on a low-carb diet. I eat mostly goat dairy and meat. So my own cheese, my own cream, meat. Camille smoked 2 pork roasts and 2 chuck roasts yesterday in her smoker. So we've got pulled pork and pulled beef pretty much for the entire week. Last week she smoked a couple of chickens. Georgia, crazy temperature swings are called spring and fall. Yeah, pretty much. That's where we are here. In North Florida, it's pretty similar to that. Yeah, pretty much mooing. Charred on the outside and raw in the middle. With a nice rye. Like, the Bullet or Michter's number 1 or something like that. How much coffee do I drink? Way too much. Like, what the hell is this? This is Tom Q&A hour? I drink 1 cup of full strength coffee in the morning and then I drink decaf for the rest of the day. And this is tea actually tonight. I don't know why. Run the steak through a warm room and it's done. Yeah, about 125 degrees on the steak. How are you with wild game? I love wild game. We get venison off the property all the time. I have a friend, Brad. I've told this story before. I have my big friend, Brad, former co-worker of Camille's when she worked at Alachua County Public Works. Brad likes to hunt deer, but doesn't like to eat it. So Brad and his family come out and hunt out here all the time. And then every once in a while, Brad will come out with his big diesel pickup truck and drop me a cooler full of deer. 3-4 times a winter. Meal cuts it down, and we stock the freezer, and we're good to go. Oh, yeah. Now all you need to do is start your own distillery with all the smoked meats. Shit. Yeah. It's funny. Camille and I have been complaining about this. I'm going to go soon, guys, because we're at an hour and 5 minutes. But I'll leave you with this, right? So we've got all these fruit trees planted around the property that we've planted over the years. So apple and pomegranate and pear and all sorts of shit around here, right? Plum trees, a couple of peach trees. And now the digestive, this is back up for a second. Rex, man, the digestive issues aren't hard. I just have about 4 or 5 foods I shouldn't eat. I mean, it's really, I've nailed it down to about 4 or 5 foods I shouldn't eat, and everything else is just fine. And it's like, it's peanuts and corn and cooked tomatoes and wheat, and that's about it. I know decaf is a sin. I agree, but I'm 50 now, so guess what? I'm going to be 51 in a couple of weeks. Decaf. If I like drinking coffee, I like the process. So I would rather have 4 cups of decaf spread out over the course of the day than one cup of regular coffee. Okay, so I've got all these fruit trees around here, and the poor things, because it's Florida, it's northern Florida. Yes, I know plums make great booze. I also know pears make great booze. I've made great plum and pear booze. I used to brew. Used to make meads. Not very good meads. Actually, I have a few I still have bottles of them up in my cabinet that are about 15 or 18 years old. They're probably really good now. But all these poor trees are confused because we have these massive temperature swings where we'll get 4 or 5 days worth of warm weather in January, and then it'll freeze. The things will start to bloom, and then it'll freeze. We got a peach tree outside blooming. And then we have tonight and last night 2 hard freezes in a row. We're not going to get shit off that tree this year. And it's just that kind of thing over. And it's like waiting for global cooling to finally settle in so that we can have a real winter that starts in like late November and goes till the end of January or February. And then in March, we can move forward. But this half in, half out, really violent stuff is just murder. And we put in cold, hardy varieties of all these trees on purpose. So we put in pears. We didn't put in Florida sand pears. We put in pears that would be good in like growing zones 7 and 8, right? As opposed to 8 or 9, because we're technically we're right on the edge between growing zone 8 and 9, where we are. So there it is. One of these days, but Camille and I were joking about it the other day. It's like one day the trees are going to be not confused. They're all going to bloom. And because they haven't had a chance to actually produce any fruit for like 5 fucking years, they're going to, and they're going to like inundate us. And we're like, oh shit, better bring out the car, boys. Let's put an order in for some yeast. What else am I going to do? All right, let's start mashing this shit down and turn it into booze. Because what else are you going to do with it? On that happy note, that sounds like a show. All right, you guys, this has been great. It's been a lot of fun tonight. I really was actually kind of dreading doing the stream tonight because I didn't really have much in my head. I really didn't think I had more than about 30 minutes in me. But yeah, this was kind of fun. A little narcissistic, but kind of fun. All right, you guys take care. You have a great evening. I'll probably do at least one YouTube or 2 during the week. I know Wednesday I'm going to be busy. Going to visit and have lunch with a couple of my local subscribers who are fantastic and awesome people, and they know who they are, even if they're not watching live. They'll probably watch the replay. Can't wait for that. So Wednesday, I don't know how much work I'm going to get done, but I'll try and get something out tomorrow and possibly Thursday, and then of course Friday night 8:30. Be here, be square, be a trapezoid, be a rhombus, whatever you want to do. All right, you guys take care. You have a great night. Keep your stick on the ass.